Hello, lovely world. Jamie Hepworth here. Today, I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts with you and some helpful exercises that can help you to create more time. Time is so precious. It is the way that we choose to embody what matters most to us. And every moment that we spend with time says something about what we care about. So, how do we spend it and how do we think about it? The richer and more integrated our relationship with time is, the better our lives will be. I know for a long time, I struggled with the concept of time. Uh, I have a lot of stories and experiences in my past where I considered myself to be kind of a time blind person. My mom always loved to tell the story about how when I was in middle school, I was found taking a bubble bath like 10 minutes before we were supposed to be walking out the door to go to school. In college, even though I had an entire semester to write this big old paper, I would often be found staying in the library late at night and staying up literally the entire night to write my paper or cram for an exam right before it was the day that it was due, and I'd be really cranky and wild. I've done a lot of projects like that in my life. And, as a mother of young babies, that was such a stark change in my relationship with time to go from the super busy period where there were lots of deadlines and lots of expectations, and then going to the opposite end of the spectrum. It almost felt like where time slowed down to the point where it really didn't exist, except for that it was marked by the poopy diapers that I changed, or like the last time I nursed the baby, and was it this side or this side? I don't know. Um, and that was pretty mind-blowing to step into this slower world of motherhood as compared to the busy college life where there was always something due and I was always getting feedback on it, to go then be with a little baby alone most of the time throughout the day. Wow, time really shifted for me in those moments. But as my kids got older and they were a little bit more capable of doing some things on their own, and I was able to take on some more projects and in the name of and in actual support of my family, I found that I really loved to just be busy. And I frequently had people remarking to me how busy I was. In fact, I still do have people remarking how busy I am. I'm actually not that busy. I purposely leave a lot of space in my schedule because I like to be able to focus on what matters most to me. So I would not consider myself a busy person anymore. But for years and years, I felt that if I was busy, then I must be important. And in these years, I had a really needy and turbulent relationship with time because my philosophy was something like shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land among the stars, even though that doesn't make sense because stars are farther away than the moon. But, we get the sentiment or whatever. But the truth was that I was overpacking or underfilling my schedule in either direction because I had a lack of confidence in myself, about being able to be present and competent with what it was that was before me. I thought that if I overpacked my schedule, then no one could condemn me for not being able to do everything that I had to do. It just wasn't even possible to do what I was attempting to do. So basically, I could be a hero if it was overpacked and I got something done or a lot of it done, right? But if I underfilled my schedule, then I was just bored out of my mind. Um, Even to the point that I felt like I was being enslaved by mundane tasks, and that was also kind of fun because I felt like I could always find camaraderie with other people who could complain with me about the tasks that we had that we were slaves to, right? Sometimes it's so delicious to be a victim, isn't it? It's pretty wild how our brains work, but we do gravitate towards that sometimes, and I found that my relationship with time, either overfilling or underfilling my schedule, was directly related to my desire to be a hero or a martyr or a victim of some kind. Um, but I wanted to do greater things, but I was just fearful that I would become so invested in the projects that I wanted to pursue that I wouldn't be able to balance it all correctly. So for a long time, I sat in limbo, just kind of feeling like I should be doing not more, but not really engaging and saying, "Oh, well, my motherhood is too important. I can't do things like that." But in this state of mind, I found that I was wasting a lot of time just kind of sitting around, hoping things would change. And this often kept me up at night and messed up my sleep routine, which also made it harder to be effective at utilizing the time that I had wisely because I would be anxious about what I'd been putting off or what I wanted to do, but I wasn't just going for it. It was a difficult perspective to grapple with time. And I really wanted to find that happy middle ground. Where was I able to be able to show up in integrity for the things that mattered most to me and that I was most committed to? And how was I going to be able to hold a godly character in my interactions with other people, regardless of whether we had made intricate plans and preparations beforehand? Could I still be loving even though my plans were thwarted and things got changed? And the way that I thought I was going to be spending my time uh, was not going to be the reality. Could I let things go? Could I be present for the moment? Anyways, my relationship with time, like my relationship with all things, is an organic thing and it's always improving. And one thing that's helped me a lot in being able to change my relationship with time and to help it to feel more spacious and generous and lovely and supportive of me is that I decided to start changing the way that I talked about time. So the kind of language that I used to use were phrases sort of like these, "We're late, we need to hurry up." And I'd often use shame as a technique, like, "This is so embarrassing that we're always late. We're always late. Why do we have to always be late?" You see how that's kind of a command with the language? We have to always be late. Um, I would often tell myself that I could have done better, I should have been more prepared, I should have started the night before, I should have done this or that in the morning, I didn't make a list, all of my preparations were not adequate enough, and because I was just inadequate, that's why this wasn't working. Um, there was a sense that I had to figure things out, that this was ridiculous, it was embarrassing, that other people would think poorly of me because I was showing up late. And I would start to let my frustrations with myself and my feeling of lack about time bubble up into social anxiety about what was coming, thinking about how people might be thinking of me or how I thought about other people. Did I even want to come to this? I probably didn't want to. It was really interesting to see how that blame kind of spread, that negative thought about time and myself spread out to other people and the interactions that I had with them sometimes. Um, I would often tell myself that we don't have enough time for that. But that was kind of the go-to, that if my kids came to me with something that they wanted to do, it was just like, "No, we don't have time for that. That's not important," was basically the message. Um, and other thoughts like just there's never enough time, right? So much to do, so little time. Have you ever heard that phrase or said it yourself? Stop saying it. It's not nice to time. It's not kind to time, and it's not going to serve you or anybody else. Because the truth is, um, even though you might be telling yourself, "Oh, there's no more time," or I used it all up and then some, and I have to just hustle all day long. You don't actually have to live your life like that. You are always in control and in command of how you choose to spend your time, and the way that you spend your time is a reflection of inner clarity about what matters to you and of confidence in your relationship with God. Those are the fundamental key aspects of what makes time feel integrated and centered. And if you start to change the way that you talk about time and you take personal responsibility for being respectful of yourself and the people you love and the commitments you've made about time, and be willing to be really honest with yourself about what actually matters most and take some time to be clear about that, you will find it easier to center yourself in choices that will feel emotionally fulfilling to you. And that's what we're actually going for when we're talking about not having enough time. We want to feel good. We want to feel safe. We want to feel prepared. We want to feel emotionally stable. We want to feel connected to the people and situations around us. And when we feel like our capacity to perceive what is important is limited or stressed, then our relationship with time will also feel stressed. And so you can improve your capacity to be with yourself in a harmonious relationship. You can improve your capacity to be cognizant of what matters most to you. You can improve your capacity to be more clear in your relationship with God. And you can actually actively uh, think about the way that you talk about time. The phrases that I just shared were obviously not helpful, right? And though they may provide some short-term motivation, they also support just a general neuroticism and anxiety, and that can transfer to the relationship that you have with your children when you're using language like that. So if this helps you to know, if you're an astrology buff, I found that my life pattern is somewhat chaotic and that maintaining really steady, consistent routines is very difficult for me, even though they're really important to me. And I often start routines and I come up with plans and systems. And so it's been a challenge of my life to love order and to want to have plans all the time and to have things be kind of taken out of the routine frequently. My Hygeia is in retrograde in Virgo in the 6th house, which is opposite my sun sign, Pisces. So routines are just notoriously difficult for me to maintain, even though I'm constantly putting them into play. So even knowing that and having experienced this kind of chaos as a regular flavor of my life, I have found that improving the way that I think about time has been very helpful for me. When I have things that come to me that I wasn't expecting, my nervous system regulation, I'm just totally able to handle it much more often than I used to be. And I find that I can be more fluid with what is next. And that's really fulfilling. And I do credit this to lots of things and lots of the work that I've done over the years. But a wonderful place to start was changing the way that I talked about time and being thoughtful and loving in my use of words about time because that was part of the creation of time and my perception of time. And so if you have, for example, that belief that, so much to do, so little time, it it's basically a command to your brain to be busy, to never be able to finish everything on your list and to live from a state of stress, right? But think about how you feel when you think something like that, and then let's take a look at and sense how it feels to say some different phrases. And I'm going to invite you, if you'd like to, while I'm reading some of these different phrases that I've found to be helpful in creating a better relationship with time, tap them in on different points here to help communicate to your entire body and your mind that these are the new things that you believe. So I found that as I have started to change my language about time, that the way I communicate with my children about time has greatly improved, and that they, on their own, have actually started to implement better routines around time. A couple of them have requested alarm clocks or have been more active in helping and being aware of how we can use the time that we have wisely, and we are much more frequently on time to church or to activities, and we even if we aren't, the stress level that we have in getting out the door is so much lower, and the love that we have for each other is greater, so that regardless of what's going on, we can appreciate whatever time we have going on. So, anyways, here's some phrases for you that you can tap in with me. Time is always on my side. Time is always on my side. I have all the time I need for what matters most to me. I have all the time I need for what matters most to me. Time is working with me and for me. Time is working with me and for me. I create time for what brings me joy. I create time for what brings me joy. I have time for what brings me closer to God. I have time for what brings me closer to God. I can make wise use of my time, whether I plan to do so beforehand or not. I can make wise use of my time, whether I plan to do so beforehand or not. I'm in tune with what is most important to prioritize in each moment. I'm in tune with what is most important to prioritize in each moment. My time is always spacious enough to be both generously spread and forthrightly implemented. My time is always spacious enough to be both generously spread and forthrightly implemented. My time is a gift. Others' time is a gift. I rejoice in and cherish the time we have together. My time is a gift. Others' time is a gift. I rejoice in and cherish the time we have together. I always have enough time to rest, reflect, sing, dance, and play. I always have enough time to rest, reflect, sing, dance, and play. I know how to appreciate the time I have. I know how to appreciate the time I have. I have time for whatever I'm choosing to be present for in this moment. I have time for whatever I am choosing to be present for in this moment. Let's do that one more time. I have time for whatever I am choosing to be present for in this moment. Time expands for me as I care for it. Time expands for me as I care for it. It could be safe for me to use my time wisely. It could be safe for me to use my time wisely. My use of time always reflects and easily reflects my highest priorities. My use of time easily reflects my highest priorities. I am a wise steward of the time I have before me. I am a wise steward of the time I have before me. It is safe to let go of uses of time that don't serve me or my loved ones well. It is safe to let go of uses of time that don't serve me or my loved ones well. It could be safe to find enjoyment with the time I have. It is safe to find enjoyment with the time I have. I find enjoyment with the time I have. It could be safe to be productive with the time I have. It is safe to be productive with the time I have. I enjoy being productive with the time I have. It could be safe to be present with the moment I have before me. It is safe to be present with the moment I have before me. I enjoy being present with the moment I have before me. I am wise enough to know how to appreciate the time I have to its fullest and most valuable expression. I am wise enough to know how to appreciate the time I have to its fullest and most valuable expression. I hope this tapping script exercise was helpful for you and that some of these phrases can speak to your heart and help you in cultivating a richer relationship with time. I love time and uh, it is truly a gift. Um, Now, as I have done more work on my relationship with time, I have noticed that looking at time in the context of tasks to be completed and in the shape of a box, right? I have this calendar on my wall for my family where we've got the entire month laid out so everyone can know what's going on because my kids stress out if they don't know what's happening for the day. So they're like, "Can we have a calendar?" I'm like, "Yes, we can have a calendar." So I fill out the calendar every month and everyone can see what we've got going on each day. But the calendar looks so full. There'd be like 2 or 3 things per day, and it looked like it was taking up the whole day, and to my heart, it just made me feel anxious. And so, what I learned to do was to time block time in a calendar that has 24 hours in a circle so that I could see time more holistically. And I designed, um, 2 beautiful handouts that I printed up professionally, and I put them in 12 by 12 shadow boxes, and I have them hanging on my wall, and I dry erase on the glass over the time clocks here, the 24-hour time clocks, so that my family can see how we're time blocking time, like, this is the amount of time that we're gonna work on our studies, or this is when mom has a coaching call, or this is when we're gonna go play at our friend's house, or this is what time, dinner will be, or this is when we have this appointment, or when we need to leave for this activity, for example. And I write on the glass over these framed pictures of our daily life, and it's been so helpful for my kids and for myself. And it's psychologically healing, I think, to look at time in the context of a circle instead of a square, because a circle replenishes itself, right? It just continues to go around and around, so it doesn't feel like you're running out. And when I was able to put the few tasks in the context of a whole day, I could see that there was more space in between the tasks, or that I actually had more time than I thought. I love being able to sort of budget my time in a more visual way. And Kate Northrup has a daily renewable planner that she did for women wanting to do this. And I really loved how she implemented this idea, in a planner where people could actually do that for themselves on paper. But I tried to find something that was similar for families or that could hang on a wall, and there just wasn't anything to be able to do that I found that was, the concept that I really wanted. So I decided to design my own version of her concept, but to make it for a family setting and for the wall. And I um, just spent a lot of time thinking about the questions that can help a person identify what matters most to them. And how can we think about time more holistically, in that it becomes more about our relationship with time itself and with ourselves and with God, and by extension the people in our lives. How can we look at time in the context of relationships and in cycles and patterns and seasons, in order to get out of this trap of feeling like that my whole life and all of my time is just about checking boxes. You know, the story of Mary and Martha, we read that tonight as a family for scripture study, and my kids were talking about that and kind of laughing about, well, I guess Jesus cares more about people than about cleaning up messes. It's like, well, Jesus didn't criticize Martha until she was criticizing Mary, but he did say that Mary had chosen the good part, right? It was about spending time with the Savior. And I think the essence of spending time with the Savior means that we're able to be aware of what is most important, and um, the relationships we have with people. The reason why we have our time at all is for strengthening relationships with other people ultimately. And the things that we choose to do with our time should serve those ends, or whatever values mean the most to you. Anyways, I have prepared a class on this topic of creating time for what matters most. And I have lots of helpful questions to help you investigate what would be most valuable to you and what would be most helpful to you in your life, and which areas of relationship you need to work on, in order to strengthen your total relationship with time. And so, in addition to those exercises and questions that I've got, I have these lovely printables that you can print up and you can put on the wall in your own home if this seems like a great system to you. And I would love to share these with you, and I would love for you to experience a class and to learn more about time. If this has been helpful and interesting to you, then I invite you to go ahead and just check in the comments below, and I will link the link to my class, and you can learn more there and join me in class. And I hope you have a wonderful day and that your time is gloriously spent in ways that fill your heart with joy and peace about being exactly where you are right now. Thank you for your time in watching this presentation with me today.